An eternal hell, especially interpreted in its most literal forms, is a terrifying thought.
As a kid, I was really scared about going to hell. Like, the concept of hell was really frightening. One thing I remember doing is that I took a match and I light it on, and I blew the match out, and I put it on my arm just to see how it feels. It was really hot, and I remember thinking, this is too painful. And then I imagine this all over your body forever. And I couldn't even imagine how could anybody tolerate it? So I jumped out of my school window, attempting to kill myself around age 12 to make sure I go to heaven. And I wasn't successful. I remember seeing my dad cry for the first time. I saw my mom going crazy on the ground.
As humans, sometimes we're afraid, and we let that fear drive us. This can be good when running away from a predator, but bad in a situation like the one just described. Fear can make us behave irrationally. Like, maybe we refuse to step on an airplane, even though cars are statistically much more dangerous. Letting fear infect our thinking should be avoided. I hope we can agree. But if this is so, then we should especially be wary about how it manifests and can be weaponized in religious contexts. And the sad fact just is, many religious people are afraid to leave their faith, or would be if they started genuinely questioning. The first and most obvious reason is fear of hell.
When the Bible speaks of hell fire, woe to us if we say, "Oh, it's only a symbol." So, honest symbols are not used because they go beyond reality, but because reality goes beyond words. Terrible, indescribable pain, forever and ever and ever.
Throughout history, most Christians and Muslims have held to an eternal conscious torment view of hell. And even for those who don't, there is still an eternal negative consequence in store for those who reject God, unless you're a universalist. This can make seriously entertaining doubts a more difficult task, especially considering the fact that there are certain texts that suggest there's a more severe punishment in store for apostates. Here's an example from the Christian Bible. How much worse punishment do you think will be deserved by the one who has trampled underfoot the Son of God, and has profaned the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified, and has outraged the Spirit of grace? For we know him who said, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay." And again, the Lord will judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Not everyone is brave enough to genuinely question religious beliefs in the context of these kinds of threats. Beyond this, there may be fear of existential consequences, especially when it comes to giving up the God belief.
Why would you want to live in a purposeless chaos in which none of your actions had any significance, in which there was no hope of justice, in which the lives of all those whom you loved ended abruptly at death and had no further significance? Why would you want, desire, actively wish to live in a universe as disgusting as that?
Notice how much he hates the idea of what it would mean for God to not exist on his own view. Now, there's a lot I could say to defend the claim that he's being way too pessimistic about what atheism's implications would be, but that's not really necessary to make my point. Because my point is, many religious believers desperately want there to be a God, and are terrified of losing that security blanket. Finally, there are inevitably social consequences that people can face. At its most extreme, many Muslims believe that apostates deserve to be killed. But even though Christians don't really think like that, there can still be severe consequences for questioning. Here's just one example.
It's not really a welcoming environment for like disagreement concerning like religion. Also, there might be some aspect, like not complete disownment, but like, you know, it would make things really difficult. Like we probably wouldn't be able to see each other on certain religious holidays just because there's some like not really welcoming aspects there. Might threaten to take stuff away, threaten monetary things, threaten I might not be able to like stay at their house. Like, I don't know what would happen. I might not be able to like stay with them because I'm going to take a gap year. I don't know what would happen. Would I have to move out and get an apartment? Like, I don't know. It's just not very welcoming in terms of disagreement. And so what that means is that, everything has been completely in the behind the scenes, like all my research.
Even for cases not as severe as this, religious communities can function as a second family that plays an absolutely central role in people's lives. Needless to say, the price tag that comes with abandoning the beliefs that hold these communities together is incredibly high, potentially risking the disruption or severing of many important relationships. It's enough to turn a person's life upside down, and predictably, people will want to avoid that. And how are people really supposed to express serious doubts in these kinds of communities anyway? If done in an orderly and abstract way, people may claim that your heart was never in it, or that you never really understood your religious beliefs. Perhaps you emote and express pain at the potential loss of faith? Well, you know deep down it's true, and this shows it. All of this is just another way of saying that your doubts will rarely be taken seriously, no matter which way you react. Because to take doubts and doubters too seriously can be seen as a tacit admission that there may be something inconsistent or incoherent about the faith they're doubting, and religious leaders can't have that. Now, why am I bringing all of this up? Well, for one, I would hope that if you're religious and are watching this, you could try to put your fears and emotions on the shelf for a minute and really try to analyze with as little bias as you can whether your beliefs are true. I think you owe it to yourself to do that. On the other hand, though, a lot of people smear atheists for supposedly holding that position for non-rational reasons, when in reality, there's a much better chance of that being true for Abrahamic theists by my lights. It's often much more costly to leave such beliefs behind, and in ways that have nothing to do with whether it's true. There's also a cottage industry of apologists whose job it is to protect the flock, but they don't always do a very good job. Tap this video next to me for some cringy examples.